Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner. Before we get started in today's project, I would like to thank these people who commented in my last video or on my last video. Diana Campanelli. I missed her name last time in writing it down, and I feel really bad, but she knows I love her and I appreciate her. And then a new subby, Little Kentucky. Thanks for joining us, and these other lovely people who've commented. I really appreciate it. Now let's get started in today's project. Now, how many of you get these cards? And it may only be in the United States, but they send them to us from, I think it's called Boys Town, and they're free cards, and they always send some stickers with them. But I love these cards in that we can make really fun things with them. Let me just give you an idea of what you can do with them. These are some of the makes that I made previously with these envelopes. They are side flips, and let me just grab it. Say, for instance, if this was a journal, you would slip it over the journal page, and you would have a card here, a tuck, and then as you turn your page, you would have a top-loading journal card here. I'll put that back in just a second. Let me show you one more. Here's another one. So say, for instance, if you were going to slip it on the side of your journal, again, on the journal side, you would be able to pull this out, have a journaling card. I won't put that back in. And then as you turn the page, then you would have a top-loading card here. And then one more here is this one here. Again, they all have side-loading journaling cards and then a tag that goes with them. And then this is something else that I made that you would attach it to a page. Say, for instance, again, this is your journal. You could washi tape it here to the journal, and it would be a flip out. And I love this card because as you look at the image here, you see there's the chapel there, and as you pull the card out, there's the other side of the chapel, and it gives you a really nice big journaling card. So let's get started in making some of these using these free cards that we get in the mail here in the US from Boys Town. Okay, let's start by making two of them. And I'm lucky enough to have the same card double. And look at how beautiful this image is on the envelope. And then this one is more of a traditional one with the door. So what you're going to do is start by folding your envelope to make your pocket. So let's just pull the cards off and out of the way. And we may only need two of the envelopes, but we'll use both cards. So we want this to be our top loading tag area right here. And then this is going to be our side loading journaling card. And we'll do the same thing over here. Let's just pick our image because we want it to have the whole image in there. And then that tells us how large we have to make our tag here. So I've just folded both envelopes, and then I'm going to attach the flap to them. And so then we will cut this open here and then down the side here. But let's just first attach these envelopes and close them up. So how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing great. I'm doing fantastic, and my sweet little Fiona is doing wonderful. I will insert a picture in right now of her in her crate. She is completely housebroken. She is not had any accidents for 2 days, and bless her little heart, since yesterday afternoon she's had diarrhea. And I think the problem is I had bought some dog treats at a flea market, and I was giving them to her as a reward. Well, I think they're just a little bit too rich for her little tummy. So I bought some pumpkin, and I'm going to be putting some pumpkin in her food tonight. But bless her little heart, she has, and thank goodness for me, she has had, like I said, diarrhea for a day and a half, and no accidents inside the house. She's been able to go outside, and I'm so I'm so pleased. Bless her little heart. Oh, so that is going to be the side loading, and then I think I'm just going to take my scissors to do the top loading part. So we're going to take the envelope and we're just going to snip this open here. So it will be a top loading tag area. Yeah, so bless her little heart. I have an appointment. I called a vet, and they couldn't get us in until a week from now. But you know, I think animals are similar to humans. I would be extremely worried if she was lethargic. That's the same thing we learned in when I was an ER nurse, is if a child is very lethargic and when they cry, there's no tears, then that's a sick kid. Okay, so there's our top loading, and there's our side loading. Same thing here. Side loading and top loading. So let's punch our little divots here so that we can remember that that's how that goes. Yeah, I guess the vet is just so busy. Like I said, they could not get me in until a week from today. She's due for her next immunizations, and so, and a well check. So I'll take her in for that. But oh, she's just a little love, and she's sleeping all night long, and she seems very happy. She loves being in my lap. Okay, so then now what we'll do is we will take these cards and cut them down to where they will be part of like our larger journaling card. So let's see. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy. What I'm going to do is take a pencil and mark this off where it needs to. Let's see. I think I can trim off a little bit from the bottom because I want to be able to have the majority of this up there. So I'm going to just lay it in my trimmer, and I'm going to trim off the scripture that comes from. It's Matthew chapter 2, verse 10. And then we will see how far. Well, you know what? I really want all of this. I think I'm going to take the scripture off for now. I can actually put it somewhere else. So let's just cut this down all the way. And then we can put that scripture elsewhere. And let me just go ahead and cut this down a little bit here. That's beautiful too. I love that. That's gorgeous. Alrighty, so let's measure here. And see, that fits, that's going to fit in there nicely. So I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off the top and just see if that will fit in. So let's just line that up. And then we're going to take a little bit off this side. And let's see if that will slide in there or if I need to cut off some of the bottom. Look at that. Is that not perfect? That fits in there beautifully. So it's going to go to the edge. So I need to trim off a little bit from this side. And I'm going to say probably about there. Now that was strange. Somebody just texted me and said, oh, oh my gosh, I'm losing it. So I said, I just saw, I said, somebody just texted me and said they're ready for dinner. And I'm like, well, who could that be? Well, that's my son. He's off of work today. And I told him, I said, Pascal, let me know when you're ready for dinner because I want to put a baked potato in the oven for myself. And that was the text. I'm ready for dinner. So, oh gosh, Hewitt, sometimes you're losing it. Okay, that fits perfectly. And I'm going to put the camera on hold and I'm going to go put my baked potato in the oven. Okay, so my baked potato was put in the oven. It's actually the next day, and we had a great dinner. So let's finish up our journaling card here. And as I turned it over, I saw this beautiful writing here, and I thought, I don't want to cover that up. So what I'm going to do is just attach this writing paper to it. And so I just have a plain piece of vintage book page that was torn out of a book, the front part of the book as I was dismantling it. And all I'm going to do is just tear this to the size I need it to be. And I'm going to attach it. Yeah, so we ended up having pork chops and cooked cabbage and baked potatoes and green beans and broccoli that I had roasted in the oven. And then I had cooked some beets. I had seen some beets at the store when I was shopping, and I thought, oh, I haven't had beets in a long time. I actually added those to my garden. So let's attach that here. And it's got to slide in to the journal this way, so I don't want to put too much up there to impede it. So I think I'm just going to use my tiny attacher and attach that. And then that can be just flipped up and journaled on. Okay, and now I want to add a pull tab here. Let's see what I've got in my ephemera book here. Well, I remember when I made it, I said, oh, it's not too big of a gator mouth. Well, by the time I kept adding stuff to it, I thought, yeah, it turned into quite the gator mouth. So I know I've got some circular. I've got either these I could use from Jessie, but I had also made some, I had made some disc. And let's just use one of these. I think that would go good with it. Let's just double check. Yeah, that kind of bluish color, that'll look good. And I want to attach something to the back so that just doesn't show up plain like that. So I'm going to grab my, I think this is a 1-inch circle punch, and just punch out a piece of thicker cardstock that will go over that, and this will go good. You can hear Miss Fiona. She's underneath my craft desk. That's her favorite place to be, is underneath the craft desk. She's chewing on toys. So we only want to put just a tiny, tiny bit here. So my sister, Carrie, she's just starting into journal making. And so for the first of the year, I thought I might do some videos on basic journal making, just starting out, maybe learning how to pick papers and things like that. What do you guys think about that? Yeah, I think that will go good there. Oop. I hope I don't cover my words as I pick this up. No, I'm good. I am going to just lay that like that so that, yeah. Okay, so that will go there. Now I want to decorate the front of the pocket. And shoot, I wish that would have gone down a little bit more. I don't know if I can move it. I can move it a tiny bit. Yeah. If I just turn it, it comes down. Yeah, there we go. Because I wanted it to fit more evenly in this hole here where the divot is. Oh, she was getting close to an electrical cord and I didn't want her to pull it down. Yeah, okay, so I like that. And then as I was looking at what I had left over, I saw this. And I thought either I could glue that on there on that side, or I could do it over here. That's pretty. However, the other thing is, remember I had this left over, the saying, and I wanted to put that somewhere. Now, if I put it there, you can see it a little bit better. Then here it's too light. So let's add that down there. Let's just trim it up a little bit. Yeah, so my girl, oh yeah, so yesterday, remember when I was talking about her little tummy troubles? Well, those have been cured. I went to a Facebook group. It's called Wheatin' Greetin', and let's run around these edges here. And I asked for suggestions on how to help her with her little tummy issue. And they said feed her pumpkin. So I fed her pumpkin, and that cured that issue. So, and my daughter's just driving up right now. She's leaving her turkeys. You know, we have Thanksgiving coming up, and so she's dropping the turkeys off to be able to defrost in my separate refrigerator. So I'm going to put the camera on hold and get to her, and then I'll be right back. So let's adhere this. And the nice thing is about this saying is there's a little bit of writing there, numbers and writing, and let's cover that up. Yeah, so my daughter is hosting the entire Glazier family, which is all of her husband's family. They have, I think there's 5 siblings, and so that would be all of them and their mother and all of their children. So my son and I are going to be spending Thanksgiving alone. So I'll be making us a Thanksgiving dinner. The other thing I could possibly do is I'm thinking about putting on our Facebook group. My church Facebook group is if anybody is going to be alone for Thanksgiving, if they would like to come over for dinner, I might post that and invite people over. Okay, let's see. Then I know there was a thing in here of Jesse's circles. That's the only thing about these really short ones. Sometimes things fly out of them. Let's see, where are those? Oh yeah, here. So, yeah. Here's one of Jesse's little circular things, and it's of a nativity scene. So let's see about putting that there on here somewhere. And I thought I liked it here. I liked how that it did bring in a little bit of gold, but it also is got some blue there. So I'm going to attach that there for a little decoration. Just ink around it a tiny, tiny bit. And then let's think about making the tag to go in here. I think maybe this image. I think that would be a nice tag. And that would fit in there nicely. Okay, so let's back this with some paper. go back to our white paper. But the other thing I wanted to bring in is, and I ordered these, they're from, a lot of them are from the 1600s, and it's what Rachel calls worm paper, but it's got like bookworm. Oh, I love that. Okay, we can use that because the writing is, oh, wait a minute here. I want the writing. How do I want the writing? I guess it doesn't really matter. Love that. Let's see what else I got here. There's just bits and bobs in here. Okay, that will work. But yeah, I ordered it from her Etsy store, and you see how she even put on there what the years, but a lot of this paper is from the 1600s. So pretty cool. Okay, so I've got to make sure that it is not too big, that it won't slide in. So probably about like that. I just want a little bit of that writing in the background. I love the way that looks. And then we'll put the image on it there. Yeah. And we can just fold this up a little bit and tear that off. Then we've got a nice scrap. So yeah, my son and I are going to be alone for Thanksgiving, and which is all right. I understand. She's, you know, when you got a full house full of people, 2 more people can be just overwhelming, I suppose. Let me grab a book page here and add the glue that way. Love this paper, Rachel. Yeah, my sweet little Fiona, she's doing really good. And what I did is since it was so noisy before, I took that real crunchy toy out of the craft room, because that was just a little bit too loud, I thought. So this is going to be our tag for writing on, journaling on. And then we'll just add our image over the top of it. I am finding that this glue stick works really well. I do like it a lot. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit so that I can poke a hole up at the top there and add some ribbon or something like that. Well, all's quiet right now. She must be laying down, taking a little nap. Okay, let's double check to make sure that will fit in there. Sometimes when the image is still kind of wet and it's not stiffened up, it's hard to get in there into a pocket. Yeah, that's going to fit in there nicely. Okay, good. All righty. Now let's add something to the top. cut off the corners here. If you don't know, if you cut the corner, then take that extra piece that you have, flip it over, and put it on the other corner. You will have perfectly straight corners, meaning the same size. Okay. And let's punch a hole there. And I think I'm going to use my smaller one here. And then I'll just put some ribbon through there or something like that. Or some lace would be nice too. I think I'm going to reinforce that with a eyelet. Here's my small eyelets. Oops, turn it around this way. Let's see, what color? Even the black might be okay. Yeah, let's just go with this black one here. Yeah, that'll work. Those are 1/8 inch eyelets, and I think I got them off of Amazon. And to set an eyelet, you need the other side, the smaller side of the crocodile. And you just slip it in where the hole is and punch or squeeze, and it sets that eyelet. Didn't set it very good on that side. It's kind of skewed, but sometimes it's the eyelet itself. If it's not the best quality, then that will do that. So now I want some, I think some blue ribbon. I changed my mind about the ribbon. I thought, let's do this hemp thread that I got in Italy. And by the way, if you're interested in any of this, I do have it in my Etsy store. It's very cool. And it's nice and thin for projects like this. So we're just going to loop it through. We'll just tie a knot to secure that a little bit better. Yeah, just ever so subtle. I'm going to ink up just a tiny bit on this back part. Okay, that will fit in there nicely. And then let's decorate the front. So for the image for the front, I still had this, but I thought to myself, I don't like that it's completely square, so I think I'm going to fussy cut around it and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, I like that much better like that. And the other thing I want to do is maybe use these words. Trim these off, the words. The wise still seek him. And that is the truth. So I have to prepare a talk. I'm speaking in church on Sunday, and my subject that I'm going to be speaking on is walking in a covenant relationship with Christ, or maintaining a covenant relationship with Christ. And so I've got to work on that today. I've got some ideas already on what I'm going to include. And I was talking to my sister Carrie. She gets very intimidated by speaking in public, and it doesn't bother me at all. Maybe I shouldn't say that too loud. They'll be asking me to speak more and more in church. Okay, we'll just trim that off. Yeah, so that's on the agenda today also, is work on that. It's today's Friday. Then the other thing is I have to go to my grandson's football game. They're in the playoffs. Let's see, which one looks better? That one has more of the, like I said, Jerusalem in the background. But this one kind of stands out more. Yeah, I think I like this one better. And then I can add those there, like that. Let's just round these off a little bit. I'm just using the smaller corner rounder there. So you can see that you can really do a lot with these free cards we get. And I think I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac. I meant not Fabri-Tac, but the Beacon's 3-in-1 glue on these, because I want to be able to manipulate them and make sure they're straight. Now, inking it up, do you see how that just really brings those letters out? You're able to see them so much better. I want to make sure that I can still see this star. And then in my little, I have a tiny, tiny little ephemera holder that I had actually made before I went to Gail Augustinelli's retreat. And it's got some tiny little images in it. And I thought that would be good on the inside here, up in that corner. Okay, I think that one is done. I think it is. We've got the front, how it's nicely decorated. We've got our journaling card with the saying still on the background. And it's got a tiny little bit of glue stuck in there. Let's see if I can peel that off. Yeah, a little of the glue kind of seeped through. Okay. And then you open it up, you have this image, and then on the back you've got this image, and you've got this journaling card. I think I have some big stars. Let me see if I remember where those are at. Okay, I did have a star. This is a retired Stampin' Up stamp. I love it. It's fantastic. But anyway, so I punched that out in a, what's it called? It's a holographic, I think. Look at how pretty that is. Cardstock, and put that on there. So I think that one's completed. So let's move on to the next one. So as I work on this next one, because the video was so long, I have fast forward a lot of it. So I need to cover up the wording Merry Christmas, because when you fold it over your journal, you're only going to see part of the words. So I'm measuring and taking some of this paper and trimming it down so that I can cover those words. This is a Stampin' Up punch. I believe it's retired. It was from last Christmas. And when I measured the paper, I didn't realize that this punch punches out such a small area. So instead of putting the trees up at the top to cover the Merry Christmas, I've instead put them down below. There's a little bit of writing and numbers in that left hand corner of the envelope. So these trees cover it up, and I think it came out okay. And then I'm taking this red paper and I will measure it for the top part and add that to cover the Merry Christmas. And I use a punch for that also. Now, I think in one of my last videos, I mentioned that Rachel from Roxy Creations was having a class in Australia in March when she's going to be there. And my friend Christina from Christina Creates, she lives in Melbourne, and we have been YouTube friends for probably the 3 years that I've been a YouTuber. I think we may have started our channels close to the same time period, and we connected, and we even shipped Happy Mail, a pretty good sized box for each of us, Happy Mail to each other several years ago. So we comment on each other's channels, and when I commented on Rachel's Instagram post about her class, Christina asked me if I was going to go to it. And I said, well, you know, that's quite a distance from the United States to Australia for a one-day class. But I said, I've never been to Australia, and I could be talked into it. Well, that's about all it took, because that got my brain going to thinking about going to Australia. So I contacted Rachel, and We talked for a while. She had video chatted me on Instagram, and long story short, within a 2-day period, I had booked a round trip flight to Australia, booked the class with Rachel, and then booked another 5-day retreat while I'm there. Now, I also talked to Christina, and she lives in Melbourne, and the classes are outside of Sydney. I'm just punching the divots here, repunching them because that paper covered my original divots. So anyway, Christina and I were talking, and she said, why don't you fly into Melbourne, and then we will drive together up to Sydney. And it's funny because, unless you've really traveled an area, you don't know the geography real well yet. Now, I'm using part of this card, the Christmas card, to make my journal card to go into that pocket. So I'm just trimming it down here. So when I was talking to Rachel, or messaged her about flying into Melbourne and then driving to Sydney, I said, we'll drive down to Sydney. And Rachel says it's actually driving up to Sydney. So, when I travel, then after a while, I really look at a map. I study a map. I get to know, the lay of the land. So I will get better with my geography with Australia. So anyway, like I said, I'm flying into Melbourne. Christina from Christina Creates, check out her YouTube channel. She's going to let me stay in her house. And isn't that wonderful about our crafting community? We only know each other from YouTube and chatting a little bit. And she has invited me to stay in her home for a few days before we drive up to Sydney. And so she's going to show me around there. And then it's a pretty long drive. So we're going to drive together, and then she's going to be able to show me more of Australia. Then I will be going to the class of Rachel's and then the other retreat, and that will take up 6 days. And then I will have, I think, an additional 3 or 4 days in Sydney, because I'm going to fly back to Phoenix from Sydney. So I'm flying from Phoenix to Fiji to Melbourne, doing the whole trip. And then when I come back home, I will leave and fly from Sydney. So now I'm just backing that part of the Christmas card with some plain book page paper. And now I'm going to look for an image to be able to use a tab. And these images that I end up picking out, and I'm going to show you, they're all right there. They are from the Junk Journal Studio. You should go over to that person's shop because he or she has wonderful, wonderful images, small, medium, and large images with words on them for Christmas. So I'm going to cut out another piece of paper, to back it with, and then I'm going to glue it to the side of that card so that I will have a pull tab to take a hold of it to put it in and outside of that pocket. So anyway, I am so excited. I'm not sure if I've ever told you guys this, but my goal, my bucket list goal, is to see the world. Now, the world is huge, but I've seen a fair amount of it in my last probably 40 years of traveling. And so that's why it was really easy to book this trip. Now, had I been to Australia before, I probably wouldn't have booked it because there wouldn't have been a need. So I've corner rounded those edges of that journaling card, and it just makes it easier to slip in and out of the pocket. So I need to do more research about what the weather's going to be like in March. I will research the foods that I need to try while I'm there. So if you live in Australia or are from there, give me some tips on things that are a must while I'm there. I will also be doing some shopping. Rachel said she will take me to the, I think it's called, is it the Sewing Bee? It's charity shop or thrift store with sewing supplies. So I'm sure I will be stocking up there. I will hopefully bring home a good amount of things to be able to put into my Etsy store for you guys. Now, I'm going to cover this tag that I've cut out. Now, this is the smaller tag for the narrower pocket. And I have taken some German book page. I think German book page looks so nice with Christmas. So I'm going to cover that tag with that German book page, trim it out, and that will be the front of that tag. And then that nice plain book page will be what you would journal on. I have this image here. It may be from one of Rachel's kits, but I'm going to just trim it down and adhere it to or on top of that German book page. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I love that. So this morning, I woke up probably about 6 in the morning, and it was raining just beautifully. And it probably rained a good 3 hours. Now that's pretty amazing for Arizona, or at least southern Arizona. We don't get very much rain. And it's funny, when it rains here in Arizona, people will come out in droves and walk in the rain because we don't get much of it. And it was so wonderful to be able to open up my front and back door and hear the rain coming through. I'm just going to ink around the edges just a little bit. That gives it a little bit of an aged look. And then I'm going to use my crocodile and punch a hole and add some eyelash lace. This is a variegated green eyelash lace. It's one of my favorites. And I'm going to just slip that through that hole just to help that tag become a little bit more decorated. I just loop it through and bring it up through that loop and pull on it. And it was funny. So Miss Fiona, I was worried about her wanting to, if she would go out to use the potty with it pouring down rain. Well, I had forgot that Wheaten Terriers, they are from Ireland and they love the rain. And she went out in that rain and there was puddles. And she was drinking that rainwater. Oh, she was loving it. So here I'm going to decorate the front of the pocket. And I have this stencil and it has a Christmas tree. And then I'm using Old Olive ink pad from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to use this blending brush and stencil this image onto this white front of this pocket. If you use some low tack tape, that purple tape, to hold your stencil down, it prevents it from moving and having you mess up your blending or your inking. Then I have these images here. I believe they are from 49 and Market. There's some Christmas gifts. They're die cuts that come like that. And so I'm going to add those two gifts to the left hand corner and then that smaller Santa to the right hand side. And I'm just going to use my Beacons 3-in-1 glue to glue those down. Then after the rain stopped, I drove over to my church, the chapel, to help clean the chapel. They do like a rotating system to clean the chapel, and they do it like, from A to, if your name starts from A to G, here's your Saturday to come and clean the chapel, and then from G to, like the next section of the alphabet, it's your turn to come clean the chapel. So I drove over there this morning at 9 and helped clean the chapel. So this is some other German book page, and I realized that I wanted to kind of ground that Santa. So thank goodness it hadn't glued down completely, so I was able to lift it up and add a little glue to the back of that German book page and slip it underneath Santa's feet. So he's actually standing on something. Now, let's see what else I can put on the front of this pocket. I love how that looks there. Now, this is a Tim Holtz um, card. It came with a bunch of word cards. I loved the font of it. It's a green color on one side, the words, and a red color on the other side. And I like this word tree, but it was too big for that left-hand corner. So I'm just going to trim it down, round off the other two edges, because the one on the left-hand side, those corners are already rounded. And I'm just going to slip that up there in that left-hand top corner. Ink it up just a little bit to give it some definition. And then I'm going to pull out some coffee dyed cheesecloth, cut off a small piece and slip it underneath that card. Again, just to add another small element. And as I'm looking at it, I see in the top right-hand corner, I'm going to go through my ephemera book and see if I could add something there. Because, I don't know, it looks a little plain, or either that, maybe even stencil something else in that top right-hand corner. Now, as I'm gluing this down and positioning it, it slips a little bit, and I'm like, ugh. So I'm pushing real hard to bring it back to the correct position of where I want that. Now, as I open the inside, I realize I want something else on the inside. And this may be from Rachel's Kit or 49N Market. I'm trying to remember, but I'm going to add that to the top there. I'm going to look through my book real quick and see if I have more of those. I put all of my things in sections, like I will have my 49N Marketplace in one section of the book, and different kits in other sections. And I'm flipping through my book just to see if I can find where that's from. Now that's the back of the card, and I see it has a really nice little wreath there. So I'm going to take my 1-inch circle punch. Now that's the 1.5, but I realize, or maybe it's the 1.25, and I realize it's a little bit too big, so I bring in the 1-inch one, and I punch that out, and I see that fits a little bit better. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more ink around it. I can't see where that image was from. So I'm going to add that just to the top right-hand corner there. And then as I'm looking at the small little pocket there at the front of it, I want to add something above the door. So I'm just going to flip through my ephemera holder here and see what I have. There's a little bit of greenery there. Now that would go good. But it's not quite perfect. And so then as I flip the page, I see there's some greenery with some gold bells, and I think that would look better. So I pull one out and decide, yes, that looks good. So I'm going to glue that above that door. Just a little Beacons 3-in-1 glue on the back of it, and that finishes that part up. So these are my makes for today. I hope you enjoyed it. We used envelopes from the boys' town. There's a nice little journaling card there. And then as it flips over, we have a tag here that you can journal on. And then you saw the other one, the blue, the nativity one, right here. Again, a journaling card, nice decor on both sides, and a nice tag there. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you, when you get these Boys Town envelopes and cards, or any, I mean, you can use envelopes and cards, like get them on sale at the end of the year and save them for next year. But anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys again soon. Thanks, and bye-bye.